Advent TV. Tonight we're in the link today, but because of purposes of social distancing, today our host is going to be, of course, online. We're going to interact via Skype. At this point of global recession, everything seems to be inevitable. Well, the region, inclusive of Uganda, will without a doubt be adversely affected by the economic and the global slowdown. Even in the direct health sector, all this will be affected. Joining me tonight is an expert, is a counsel. This is a lawyer from Cristal. If I've pronounced it right, that is to say, I'm joined by Denis here. Denis, try to give us an insight of how you look at this, especially the global recession and the tax revenues as a nation. How best could we have handled this?
Thanks, Andrew, for hosting me. I am experiencing the coronavirus social distancing. This is the first time I'm doing a Skype interview on NTV. Usually I've been studio.
Oh, yes.
What we are seeing happening is that it's inevitable that the global economy is going to enter into a recession. And if the global economy enters into a recession, inevitably also Uganda's economy would be affected. So we anticipate that the tax revenues in Uganda are going to be significantly affected. And if tax revenues are affected, it means that the ability of the government to resource mobilize is also affected. And if the government doesn't have sufficient funds, then service delivery would really suffer. But also in addition to that, the government has taken commendable steps around containing the spread of the disease. The president has addressed the nation several times, and he has come up with measures which have been lauded as actually likely to contain the disease. But where we've not seen the government come in is the fiscal and economic measures to mitigate the hardships that people are experiencing today. And what we've seen all over the world, the US government recently passed a $2 trillion stimulus package, which is aimed at mitigating the hardships of the coronavirus. The UK government has also come up with a similar package. The Italian government has come up with a package of around 600 billion euros. The German government has also come up with a package similar to that. And even across here, our neighbors in Kenya, they've come up with some fiscal measures which are aimed at kickstarting the economy at this very difficult time. So we eagerly await to see whether the government and whether in the next address of the president to the nation, it will come up with tangible economic measures which will alleviate the concerns of our people.
All right, Denis, right there, do you think the losses are so substantial that we may struggle to balance our budget as planned because we're heading to the budget season anyway?
Yes, it's certainly the government is going to struggle with resource mobilization. And if the government has been struggling to meet up with the tax revenue collections, you would expect that the situation in which we are in, it's even going to struggle more. But again, there's also a need to balance it because we are at a point in time where the government needs to collect tax revenues, but it also needs to be cognizant of the impact the coronavirus had on the economy. And therefore, what you would expect as a sensible measures the government would take would actually be to cut taxes, create measures that would alleviate and ease taxpayers making payments timely. And I can actually tell you what has happened in Kenya. Kenya has reduced the VAT rate from 16 to 14%.
Of course.
And the rationale behind reducing the VAT rate is to make sure that the prices of goods and commodities fall. So if commodities prices fall, it means that the common people will be able to afford making payments for the goods. Then the government has also reduced the pay-as-you-earn. Pay-as-you-earn is a tax which is imposed on employees. The reason why it has reduced this is when you reduce taxes on employees' incomes, they are going to have a lot more disposable income, which they'll be able to spend.
Absolutely.
And at this point in time, what we need is the employees and other people should have monies at hand or some kind of disposable income so that they are able to spend. And when they are able to spend, the companies will be able to sell off whatever they produce. But again, also, what is commendable, what Kenya has done, which I believe Uganda should also pick a leaf, is the government has cleared all the domestic arrears. The domestic suppliers who have been making supplies to government and they have not been paid, the government decided that within 30 days, they will be paid. Now, if you make payments to the domestic suppliers, it means there's going to be a cash injection in the economy.
Okay.
And when there's a cash injection in the economy with these suppliers, these are the people who are going to pay off their debtors, the banks will be paid. So,
well, Denis, right there, let's come back home. You've been to Kenya, you've been to Italy, you're globe-trotting at a very supersonic speed. But going forward, what do you think is likely to happen in the next year? Can businesses recover, of course, to support the economy to recover as well? What are we looking at in the near future?
the truth of the matter is that the projection is that businesses are going to struggle. And since we already know that businesses are going to struggle, we need the input of the government to help these businesses recover and progress better. And this is where I challenge the government and our president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. We need him to come out.
Denis, are you still there?
A bit more open, request that he takes the leadership in coming up with economic measures which are going to help the prevailing businesses, which will keep these businesses in production. And if these businesses are kept in production, it means people will be employed. And if people are employed, they will have money to spend.
Okay.
So the picture is grim, but we need a stimulus and some intervention by the government. If this intervention is right, like other countries in the world are doing, and if the government takes proactive measures to do that, the situation might be arrested and we can get better, not worse as projected.
Okay, I understand that your firm, Cristal Advocates, you've done a study of this entire problem. What are the conclusions of your study? If we could tap a little bit in that bit of the study.
Yes, we recently issued a publication, and that publication was around some of the measures the government can take to mitigate the tax hardships of taxpayers. And we are happy to note that as soon as we issued that publication, the Uganda Revenue Authority, the day after, also announced some few measures. And some of the measures which were announced were that the government will give reprieve to taxpayers. Taxpayers have deadlines within which they are supposed to pay taxes. So government has accepted, or Uganda Revenue Authority has accepted to extend the time when taxpayers can pay taxes. And then there's also another issue they've come up with. You know, taxpayers usually have non-compliance issues. And they would like to come forward to make disclosures so that they don't pay penalties and interest. So Uganda Revenue Authority has come out clearly and mentioned that if taxpayers go forward at this point in time and they disclose their sins or instances of non-compliance, they will actually be forgiven the interest and penalties, which many times is very punitive. So, but there are also other measures which we highlighted, I think what we need to do, we need to take some radical steps, and I believe the president can actually do it. Let's take the direction of what our neighbors in Kenya have done. We need to reduce, in the interim, pay as you earn rates for the employees. We need to reduce VAT rates. It can be for an interim period, maybe for about 6 months, so that we normalize the situation, and then we revert back to our usual tax situation.
Well, thank you so much. That is Denis from Cristal Advocates. It is an honor and it's very gratifying to have you in these days of the lockdown, that we could tap into your vast knowledge about how best the economy could actually recover. Well, there you have it. So you and I can possibly learn one or two things on how best we can revamp our economy after these lockdowns.